This is how it used to work. A real estate agent would lock in the client, they'd stage the place, hold an open house every single weekend, and hope that the right buyer walks through that door.
10 years ago, you could probably go look at a house and circle back 2 to 3 weeks later and still have an opportunity to make a bid. The first time I received a lead through Instagram, my mind was blown. If you're seeing something in a neighborhood that is established, you have 2 to 3 days after the open house in this market to make an offer.
Our world has shifted so much. Folks are getting comfortable doing business either through social media or 100% virtual.
Social media, like everything else it touches, has turned the real estate business upside down. You've heard this trope before. Millennials aren't buying and owning as much as their parents' generation, be it a car, a diamond, or a home. But the lack of ownership is not always by choice. In 2018, a survey found that 89% of millennial Americans want to buy a home. They just can't afford it. As of 2019, millennials of all stripes owned only 5% of U.S. housing, compared with 15% for Gen Xers.
Millennials haven't been able to make these big ticket purchases the same way as their predecessors did. Now, this is down to the financial crisis. We have rising student loan debt and a higher cost of living. Now, millennials are getting older, they're earning more money and saving more. So now is about the time where a lot of them are going out and making those purchases.
And now, having been stuck at home for over a year, the same generation that embraced Ubers and Airbnbs wants something to call their own.
I got married and I have a child, so, looking for more space and thought about the conventional route of young and single and live in the city and then move out to the suburbs when you have a kid and a wife. I've seen a whole bunch of my friends just move on down to the West Palm Beach, Miami area, Austin, Texas. So they are certainly moving out of the city, but space was top of mind for them moving out.
We lived in Williamsburg for about 16 plus years, and week 2 in the pandemic, we just realized we needed more. So we started looking for a house right away. We now live in Goshen, New York, which is about an hour and a half from New York City.
Instagram accounts like Circa Houses and Cheap Old Houses offer a glimpse into the perfect suburban life, often at a price point not too dissimilar to what adults pay for rent in major cities. By the end of 2020, New Yorkers who didn't flee paid an average of $2,700 a month for an apartment, even as rent prices plummeted during the pandemic.
Millennials make a large percentage of spending right now, and that makes them a valuable consumer for brands. That means they're being courted by everyone out there to spend with them. They grew up online. They're comfortable with pretty much anything that you can do there. And that's buying things, selling things, Craigslist, eBay, all that. Making a $100 purchase on Craigslist or a $1,000 purchase on eBay, it's not that much of a leap to go even further if you're buying a fancy piece of jewelry or a house for $1 million.
The uptick in home demand fueled by the pandemic, combined with record low interest rates, has made home buying extremely competitive over the last year. So much so that some millennials look to social media to shop and actually buy their first house sight unseen.
I saw sort of something on my Instagram feed and, clicked, and we ended up seeing this house. Houses weren't really being shown at that time because we were in full lockdown. We became really interested. 1 YouTube video, 20 Zillow photos, that is it.
The red-hot housing market spells opportunities for developers targeting this demographic, getting eyeballs strictly through social media.
People are not looking in the back section of the Times anymore for real estate listings. Our demographic is between late 20s to mid 40s, and that demographic is spending a lot of time on social media, and they're doing a lot of shopping via Instagram and other social media platforms.
This is Joshua Gelb and Pele Hamburger. During the pandemic, the 2 New York City-based developers started Neville House, a new construction project 2 hours north of the city. Unlike most traditional real estate listings, the pair bypassed the use of a broker and advertised their homes directly on Instagram. No fees, no commissions.
You used to have to hire a broker, work with them, they would do showings on site. Now you basically put your renderings on on Instagram, and within an hour you have 15, 20 replies saying, can I come see it directly with you, and let's see it tomorrow, and it's just completely changed the game.
Most people have that image in their head of the quintessential upstate modern cabin set in the woods. We've definitely tried to tap into that and create something that's attainable for these people. Say, you can have that. You can be swiping through Instagram and that can be your home too.
There's been quite a proliferation of these direct-to-consumer brands. There's just tons of them out there. It's not that hard to start up a website that sells things and get things manufactured for that e-commerce platform. So like Allbirds with shoes, Casper with mattresses, or Warby Parker with glasses. All of that means a lot more opportunity for brands in the online shopping space. So it's natural that real estate would want to get involved as well with these big-ticket items.
10 years ago, the broker would drive the search. Now, I think that my clients text me listings, they have alerts, they find things quicker than we do sometimes because we're out and about. I'd say that the buyer is much more involved these days.
Social selling is creating brand new ways to shop. So let's look at vintage clothing, for example. There are sellers on Instagram finding successful ways to sell one-of-a-kind items. It's that fleeting nature, the ephemeral nature of social media. You post the item online, and whoever's first gets that one-of-a-kind item. Now, real estate has similar scarcity to it. There's one place to buy. It's one home, one apartment, one thing. It's one of a kind.
But the rise in social media real estate isn't just about the instant gratification. Researcher Andre Perry, who studies economic inclusion at the Brookings Institute, says social media has evolved from the days of online hangout spaces and mood boards to a powerful change agent.
Social media is a primary source to get news and information, but it's not just about social media, it's about the movement that we're in. The racial justice uprising really gave people a sense of worth and empowerment. And so people not only are getting information about what protects people in the long run from economic shocks, things like wealth.
In his research, Andre found that not only are more millennials buying homes during the pandemic, the rate of home ownership among Black millennials are at historic highs.
The fastest way to accumulate wealth in this country traditionally has been through home ownership. Millennials in particular are saying, hey, I want protection. I want to live longer. I want my education to go further. Let me acquire wealth. And the fastest way to do that is through home ownership. When the pandemic hit, many of the amenities or the comforts that came along with those living conditions were gone. Folks couldn't go to bars and fancy shops. And so you saw, instead of people going out and buying clothes, they saved their money and bought property and outside of the city generally. People are moving to the suburbs, to rural areas, places where home prices are a little bit cheaper.
Many home buyers are looking for houses outside the major metropolitan areas. Additionally, many home buyers are looking for direct outdoor access and added space as the uncertainty about the virus persists.
Millennials are also looking to influencers not just for the latest trends and TikTok dances, but to partake in important conversations, be it about politics or personal finance or anything in between.
Real estate ownership. Let's start small. Let's don't be scared to start small. Instead of renting a big house in the hills in California like most artists do, buy you one that's on the flat.
I meet folks like Brandon Rule and Charlemagne the God.
You have residential real estate and you have commercial real estate.
They're talking about buying homes. When I was coming up, really home buying was a mysterious, shrouded process that only a few people could teach me. Now I can easily log on to Clubhouse or Instagram and find literally lessons on how to purchase a home, but done with savvy and finesse.
Today we're gonna make a greenhouse.
I am DIYing the entire closet.
Heather, having bought her fixer-upper sight unseen, also looked to internet personalities to help figure out how to modernize and to make sure her home was also an investment.
It gave us a lot of confidence. They make it look super easy how we could do all of those things ourselves. My husband just installed a laundry chute, which is something we never would have thought of if we didn't see an influencer do that and how easy it actually is.
Really simple do-it-yourself project. You can do that. If you have any questions, go ahead and message me.
And in the case of Neville House, Josh and Pele hope that buyers see these homes as potential secondary income.
These young families look at these products or look at our homes and say, here's a turnkey Airbnb. This can serve our family, but this can also be the perfect rental. We've tried to strike a balance in the design of the home for, working well as a family home that's going to be lived in and also working as an investment.
A lot of this just points to how millennials can utilize and leverage social media to their benefit. But it also speaks to, again, this moment that folks want freedom. So millennials are really stepping up to this real estate game and taking ownership and building wealth.
Of course, not everything is as it seems online. While social media can be a useful tool for learning, there's still a lot it can't tell you about the home buying experience, or living in the suburbs for that matter.
We knew going into it, budgeting for a lot of renovations. We kind of thought if we buy it at $450,000, we could put $200,000-300,000 into the house and really make it ours and our own.
We can't wait to replace in this kitchen and update our built-in deep fryer, which was not in the listing photos.
We kind of got into the house and we realized that budget was completely unrealistic.
We have a lot of people who see our design on Instagram and they say, I love it, can you come build this on my property? And then they'll send us the lot, which they bought sight unseen during COVID, and because of site conditions or zoning, it's virtually unbuildable.
I think we all know that what you see on Instagram and what you see in real life are two very different things. So while we can definitely, as brokers, create these fantastic narratives, the one recommendation that I would give is do your homework. Don't believe everything you say. That's not to say that there's dishonesty or anything where people are trying to manipulate you, but not everything you see is accurate.
This shift towards social media house hunting may also help to bring equilibrium to a market that has historically disadvantaged specific groups of buyers.
Many of the traditional ways that people got mortgages or loans often precluded Black people because they deemed us too risky for those loans. With technology, there's ways to get around that. As long as more Black people get educated on racism and discrimination in lending, we're going to figure out ways to get around that racism.